Part of Delaware's most popular section of coastline is vanishing, and it's dragging a major roadway with it. And many people think it's just erosion that they're addressing, but it's actually really a full-blown emergency. This $15 million rescue isn't just about sand as many people think it is. It's about saving a major section of one of our main roadways. And the wildest part is it's all happening right now. Today, I'm breaking down a project that's changing coastal Delaware forever. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Lunden, a local coastal Delaware realtor, and we've helped hundreds of families move here and have sold over $100 million in real estate. So we know these beach communities inside and out. And today we're going to be diving into the massive $15 million project that's really reshaping part of our coastline. And this is one of the biggest coastal engineering efforts Delaware has seen in many decades. We're talking nonstop work, 500,000 cubic yards of sand, and a race against the ocean. I've read the official reports and I'm breaking it all down so you know exactly what's happening and why it matters for coastal Delaware's future. So let's get into it. Let me start with what's going on. Back in March 2024, the ocean water started flowing onto Route 1, which is one of our major highways. Pretty wild, right? But this wasn't just some random freak event. It's been coming for a long time, almost a century in the making. The north side of the Indian River Inlet has been fighting erosion since like 1928, and there's a good reason why. Back then, they built these jetties to stabilize the inlet for boats. They worked great for that, but they completely messed with how sand naturally moves along our coastline. Think of it like this. Sand normally flows northward with the current. But these jetties basically created a roadblock, so now all the sand just piles up on the south side while the north side just keeps washing away. From 1957 to 1990, they had to dredge over 2 million cubic yards of sand from the inlet. That's a ton of sand. In 1990, they got smart and they built a sand bypass facility, basically a system that pumped sand from the south side to the north side of the inlet through a pipeline, and it worked great until it didn't. In 2019, that facility actually broke down, so DNREC, the Delaware Natural Resource Department, had to switch to literally trucking in sand from inland. That's like trying to fill a bathtub with a teaspoon while you've got the drain open. They just couldn't keep up with it. And things got really bad in 2024. We had multiple dune breaches during storms in March and August, including after a hurricane that came through. And these weren't just minor problems. They actually flooded and shut down parts of Route 1. Crews were out there scooping sand and debris off the highway while water was still pouring in. It was definitely a wake-up call to our area and to the state. Now, when you look at time-lapse images, you can literally watch years of sand disappearing in seconds. And it's actually pretty wild to look at. And with our main coastal highway at risk, state officials finally said enough is enough. And they launched this massive $15 million project to save our shoreline, and they moved fast. But let me give you a sense of just how big this project really is, both in scale and in funding. Now, before we get to that, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos about life in coastal Delaware. We put out content each and every week with tips on where to live, what to do, what's coming soon, and so much more. So subscribe to make sure you join our community here online. So before I get into exactly how they're fixing this, let's talk about how big this operation really is. If you see aerial footage of the dredging equipment they've had out there, you start to get it. I mean, this is a huge undertaking. It started as a $15 million emergency project funded by Delaware, but check this out. They actually pulled in another $10 million in federal funding from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. So now we're looking at $25 million in total. That's a serious commitment to our coastline. And what makes this project cool is how they're tackling it in really two different phases. The first phase, which was led by DNREC, kicked off last November with all the equipment moving in. They started actually dredging on December 2nd. Now, the second phase is going to happen now that DNREC is wrapping up, and it will be handled by the Army Corps of Engineers a little bit later this year. I'm actually pretty impressed by how well these state and federal agencies are working together on this. I feel like you never see that. But DNREC Secretary Sean Garvin talked about the partnership, saying this project reflects a great team effort from the time we began hauling sand by truck in the summer to now maintaining efficient round-the-clock operation. And when these agencies actually cooperate smoothly, you know something is a big deal, and it must be really important for state and federal agencies to get along. Now, looking at this $25 million budget breakdown, you can see that it's not just a band-aid fix. The state's initial $15 million is covering all of the dredging and beach work. The extra $10 million from the feds will support the second phase and help with long-term maintenance. They're thinking ahead, which is honestly refreshing because, again, something that is not always the case. Maybe we're seeing a change of the time. But what exactly are they doing out there? Well, let's break down the nuts and bolts of this massive restoration and really show you how cool engineering is making all of this happen. Now, for the really cool part, the actual engineering that making it all work, they originally planned to move about 380,000 cubic yards of sand. Now, that's huge. That's like filling 115 Olympic-sized swimming pools with sand, but they actually upped that to 480,000 cubic yards. That's an extra 100,000 cubic yards they didn't even plan for initially. You know, the numbers are kind of mind-blowing when you start to equate these things to like real-life examples. Now, here's a cool fact. fact, they're not just grabbing sand from anywhere, they're actually dredging it from what they call the Indian River Inlet Flood Shoal. They've used this spot before, like after Hurricane Sandy hit in 2013. Now, surveys showed that nearly 100% of the sand they took in 2013 had completely refilled itself within just 4 years. Nature basically healed itself, and that makes it the perfect spot for this project because they already know it's gonna refill again. So what's the new beach gonna look like? Well, they now have dunes built already. They're 16 feet high, 25 feet wide. The beach itself will sit at 9.2 feet, about 7 feet above the high tide line, and stretch over 150 feet out. Now, these aren't just random numbers. The engineers designed this specifically to handle future storms. And they're not just dumping sand either. All the dredge material gets pumped through a pipeline and screened for things like old munitions and explosives from World War II times before it hits the beach. It adds a little bit more work, but it keeps everything safe for everybody. Now, this isn't just about saving some beach. It's about protecting critical infrastructure that thousands of us depend on every single day. So let me show you exactly what they're working on so hard to protect. Now, Route 1 runs right next to the eroding shoreline, and it really hits home what's at stake. This isn't just any road. It's like the evacuation route for most of the region, including all of our coastal towns and even part of Ocean City, Maryland. And when hurricane season hits, this road can be the most important lifeline for some of our residents. We've already seen what happens when the dunes fail. The ocean comes right over, floods the highway, and it shuts it down. Now, when crews are out there scooping sand off the major highway while more water is still pouring in, you know you've really got a serious problem. And what's smart about this project is how it's specifically designed to create a buffer between the ocean and the road. You know, by building dunes that are 16 feet high and 25 feet wide and the beach at 9.2 feet of elevation, they're basically creating a natural seawall, and it gives Route 1 the protection that it needs to stay open even when the biggest storms hit hard. I was talking to a transportation official the other day about how critical Route 1 can be, and they really actually broke it down for me. It's not just about beach access, it's about emergency services, daily commuters, and basically it's the economic backbone of all of coastal Delaware. They told me keeping this evacuation route open is one of their main priorities throughout the year. Now, I drive this stretch of Route 1 all the time, both with my family and with clients, and I can tell you firsthand that when you're on that road during a storm and you can see these angry waves crashing not too far from you, you can definitely appreciate good coastal engineering and the new buffer that's been put in. Now, while protecting the highway is obviously crucial, this project is also saving one of Delaware's favorite recreational spots, so let's show you how it fits into the bigger picture of coastal resilience. The Indian River Inlet area is huge for recreation, things like fishing, swimming, surfing, bird watching, you name it. This project isn't just fixing the roadway, it's also preserving these experiences for both our kids, grandkids, and any future generation. You know, one of the best parts is that they are fixing the sand bypass facility in 2025 as well as part of the project, and getting that system back online, continually pumping sand from south to north, will certainly keep things more sustainable after this emergency project wraps up. The combination of what they're doing now plus the fixed bypass system should keep the north side of the inlet healthy for many more years. But wait, there's more. The Army Corps of Engineers is also doing some complementary work to the inlet. They've got a $5.3 million contract with Ag8 Construction to fix a section of bulkhead along the interior northern shoreline and tighten up about 215 feet of the south jetty. They're addressing the deep scour hole caused by swift currents that's been undermining the shoreline and letting sand leak into the inlet. They're really attacking this problem from all angles. Again, a breath of fresh air and something great to see. Now, what's smart about this project is how it's becoming a major model for dealing with climate change. As the lowest state in the country elevation-wise, Delaware can be vulnerable to stronger storms and rising seas. So this project isn't just nice to have, it's pretty actually essential for us to have here. Now, on top of all this, DenRec is working with federal partners to create faster emergency response systems for future coastal threats. Secretary Garvin hopes Delaware can set up a federal reimbursement process so the state can bring in the Army Corps more quickly when emergency hits, even before federal funding is officially available. Now, this would speed up response times and help prevent small problems from becoming larger disasters like what we've seen currently at the inlet. This project does show that Delaware is serious about protecting our coastline for many generations. It's pretty cool to think how what they're doing now today will benefit this area for multiple decades in the future. So that's the Indian River Inlet Beach Repair Project, and I've got to say, I am impressed by what I've seen. It's the perfect example of turning an emergency response into a long-term strategy that protects both infrastructure and the beaches that we all love. You know, from those initial scary dune breaches to this comprehensive two-phase plan, Delaware has certainly stepped up in a big way. Now, by tackling these erosion issues that threaten both Route 1 and our recreational areas, the state is showing real commitment to sustainable coastal management as climate challenges can certainly increase. Now, if you found this video helpful and want to talk more about Delaware's infrastructure and any future projects going on, or if you want to chat about real estate here in coastal Delaware, my team and I would love to be your real estate estate resource of choice, and all of our contact information is gonna be down below in the description. And if you wanna stay in the loop about all things Coastal Delaware, what's going on here and what's happening here, what life is like here, make sure you smash that subscribe button down below. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you on the next one. Peace.